Cachai Australia acknowledges that this podcast is recorded in the land of the Guringai people.
We pay our respect to all Aboriginal nations and to elders past and present.
Hola and welcome to another episodio de Cachai Australia podcast. Florencia Calderón, how estás você?
Oh my God! This is gonna be really difficult. No one, not two, three different languages.
Tres
today.
idiomas.
Tres.
Sí.
We're gonna try to do a trilingual episode.
Un episodio en Portuñonglish.
Portuñonglish.
Sí.
But first, primero, please everyone, síganos en las redes sociales. Share this episode with a friend. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And estén atentos.
Sí, se vienen cositas.
Porque se vienen cosas muy buenas.
Sí.
So, yeah.
Tan buenas como el invitado que tenemos hoy.
Invitado de hoy. Un crack de los idiomas.
Sí, un políglota.
Políglota.
Sí.
Bienvenido, Hugo Groom, a Cachai Australia.
Muchas gracias, Florencia. Abe, telespectadores, es un honor estar aquí con ustedes, entonces muchas gracias por hoy.
Hugo es el australiano que habla mejor portugués que los mismos brasileños.
Sí. ¿Você fala portugués?
Eu gosto de falar.
Muy bien. Español y está aprendiendo más idiomas aún.
Sí.
Japonés, imagínate.
Sí.
Ahora estoy aprendiendo japonés, tailandés también,
Oh.
pero soy muy
Samarika.
Samarika. Pero soy muy iniciante.
Ok, sí.
Pero es gracioso.
Sí,
ahora.
Buenísimo.
Okay, so we want to have fun. We want to talk a bit about everything. We have to go deep into how difficult is the emotional part to learn a new language, about everything. So
Let's go.
Go.
Ok, legal. Vamos.
Wow. Okay, Hugo, you are from Sydney, Australia, and one day a friend of mine said, "Do you know Hugo?" And I said, like, "No." And he sent me your Instagram, and I started scrolling, and was like, "No, this man is not Australian; he's Brazilian."
Yeah.
Why did you start with this like interest in the Brazilian culture, and why did you start learning Portuguese in that amazing way that you know how to speak now?
Oh, good question. So I started learning about 10 years ago. When I was at university. I met a lot of Brazilians doing an exchange program, Ciências Sem Fronteiras, which was a government program to send Brazilians abroad. And I met them and I just love the warmth, the fun culture, everyone always smiling. And I just thought that was a fantastic way to live life and to get involved in a culture.
Yeah.
You have to learn the language, otherwise you'll always just be sitting there sort of, you can get a bit, but learning the language is the best way to get involved and get immersed.
Wow. And how was the first step? Like you decide, okay, I want to learn. How did you start studying Portuguese?
So I sort of thought when you speak, you always you use certain like grammatical structures for it. So I was always thinking, okay, how do I say what am I what I'm doing right now? So I learned, eu estou, eu tô. So, tô falando, I'm speaking. O que você está fazendo? What are you doing? And you just start, what are you doing? And then you learn funny words to describe people. How do you say bonito? Things like bonita, you know what I mean?
Gustosa.
You compliment people, you say funny things like camisa
Selva
bonita.
gelada.
Bajulada, exatamente.
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 Eu falo. Só um pouquinho.
And that's how you do it. And I just fell in love with it. Then I got into the music, and I love
bossa
Brazilian
nova,
music.
funky.
I love funk. Eu amo funk. I love funk. Sertanejo. Do you know sertanejo?
No?
Sertanejo is as if it were the bachata of Brazil.
Oh.
Similar style like Romeo Santos, Gustavo Lima. It's a similar. It's like similar dance as well.
Sí.
And it just llama el corazón. And I just fell in love with it.
Wow.
And I'm here.
And they would love you back.
Well,
because what we love as Latinos, I think, is when someone puts a little bit of an effort into speak our language, we just immediately fall in love with that person.
Well, people just treated me so well, and as soon as they found out that I spoke a bit, they just never spoke to me in English again. Yeah. And that's the way I learned. Once they know, they just, and it was great because, I struggled. A lot of the time I was just, you know, ¿qué están hablando? What are they saying?
Yes.
You know, ¿qué están falando? And then, but after a while, you just improve. It's just a process.
And in 2016, you went to live to Brazil.
I did indeed. Yeah.
For 1 year?
Yeah, nearly 10 months, nearly a year.
That's cool. And what do you did there?
I
Play football.
I did play a couple of times football. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Caipirinha en la playa. En la playa.
Yeah. Suco de abacaxi.
Yeah, I love the
All the
Portuñol.
words that I need, that I know in Portuguese, I'm using now.
It was funny because I got there and I stayed with friends, had an amazing time, traveled around, you know, documented a lot of things, posted a lot of videos, photos. I went up to the Amazon, I went down south. I lived a little bit in São Paulo and Rio. I wanted the true experience, not the gringo experience.
Sí.
And I spent 10 months traveling around, working, teaching English, you know, being immersed in the culture, and I had so much fun.
Thanks for doing that. Love that.
Brazil is an amazing country.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so culturally rich, and it was funny because I went to, you know, Florianopolis, and there's so many Argentinians there,
and Uruguayans.
And
I
spoke more Spanish than Portuguese almost, because it was just la playa was full of Argentinos. So it was really, I had an awesome time, and I love Brazil, and now my prometida, my fiancé is Brazilian. So.
Obviously, it paid off.
Of course.
Are you planning to travel soon to Brazil again?
Well, we went at the start of the year.
Oh, that's great.
But we want to go again soon. Obviously, we've got the wedding, a few other things to plan.
Yeah.
And we definitely, you know, if things go well business-wise, we'll live over there as well. And, you know, it'll be fantastic.
Buenísimo. En tú estabas hablando del el social documenting that you did back in Brazil and videos. Agora, você faz muchos videos en Instagram, en TikTok. Todo día. Haces videos en portugués.
Sí.
Y es como... Este tipo no es australiano.
No.
Yo cuando te vi dije, este tipo es...
É que eu gosto muito, eu ensino, né? Eu aprendo.
Sí.
Então eu tô praticando, tô falando português toda hora.
But you don't have English accent when you speak in Portuguese.
Even when you say words in English. Like, say podcast.
Podcast.
Say Facebook.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it.
See, that's different. Because that's just adapting to the accent and the culture in a way to replicate what the phonetics of it.
Yes, good.
Why do you go that a step, you know, further?
Well, it's a good question, because a lot of people, when they're learning language, they think, oh, this is my accent and I'll never improve.
Sí.
Whereas I think, no. Pronunciation is a muscle, is a músculo. You just train.
Sí.
Like, you don't go to the gym, what is that, gimnasio, y quédate fuerte un día. You don't get strong in one day. It takes months, even years. It's the same thing. You pronounce, and often all it takes is just one little toque, one little, how do I say in Spanish? One little like touch. Just
un toque.
Un toque. Just when I'm speaking Spanish, you will notice, Hugo, no es eso, es así.
Sí.
Bang. Helped. Instead of, oh no, yo soy Australian. Like, sometimes Australiano. Like, you just get the little. And I just thought, this brings familiarity. People like it. You sound more natural, and people just relax around you.
Okay, so is that what you... Let's talk about what you're doing now with that community and speaking in Portuguese. Are you teaching them that?
Yeah, I teach them that pronunciation isn't this thing where, oh, that's my accent and I'll never learn. It doesn't work like that. It's a muscle. There are so many strategies, so many ways you can improve your pronunciation, your listening, you know, observing, practicing, just training as if it were like going to the gym. And you can, a lot of the time, they're just little things that you've been doing wrong. And that's what I tell them. I say, hey, look, don't say, oh, you know, meu sotaque, it's my accent. Não dá mais, you know. Like, nunca. Jamás. You know, never.
I think when you are learning a language, or in your case, teaching a language, there's so many different areas. And sometimes when you start, you just focus in grammatics, in get more vocabulary, like in the basics things. But there's so much more, like the pronunciation or your accent. But there's also a big psychological and emotional thing. And I always talk in the podcast about how difficult was for me the psychological part of the learning experience. And I have been seeing a few videos of you talking about that, about like, just do it, just go, just talk, like try to be yourself. Doesn't matter if you make a mistake. How do you teach that to your students?
I just think the way people view learning languages and going on a podcast, a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm never going to do a podcast, nunca, jamás en español. ¿No?
Bueno, eso fue Flo.
That was
Flo
me
dijo,
at the beginning.
yo jamás voy a hacer un podcasti en English.
And I never want to work as a professional in English, and I never going to do anything like, I don't know, public in English, because I was so afraid about make mistakes.
Y tenía uma mentalidade negativa.
Não, mas você tem que pensar o seguinte, você tem que pensar, vocês falam espanhol perfeitamente?
Sim.
No sentido de ustedes hablan español perfectamente, gramaticalmente correcto, todo, tienen un vocabulario muy rico. Às vezes cometemos errores en nuestras línguas. Es normal cometer errores. Todo mundo, en cualquier cosa que haces, vas a cometer errores. No hay problema. El importante es transmitir tu conteúdo, tu conocimiento. Errores vamos a cometer. Y no cometer. Pero no hay problema. No tengo miedo. Es eso. It's like that.
And yet, you still teach them, or you wouldn't say Facebooky, you would say Facebook?
Yeah, because there are certain things that are very easy to fix.
Right, yes, correct.
Now think, like, you probably won't say this online, but if I came here now, and I said, oh, hola, muy bien, you instantly, subconscientemente, desligan un poquito. You just, así, un poquito, sin querer. Es natural. Pero si yo llego hablando, ¿cómo están? Yo,
Okay. Desligo, you mean...
like you switch off. How do I don't know how to say
that in
Spanish.
You lower your expectations.
Yeah, well, not even that, just naturally, you instantly go, he's learning, slow down.
See, you know, and you know what else? I think you also... what's the word you use? Subconsciously, you think, maybe he's not that smart.
Yeah, well, just little things. You won't admit them, but you instantly, like if you guys come and you say, I am learning English, I instantly, I slow down. And the content changes. The conversation is different. Whereas if I, hola, ¿cómo están? Romeo Santos. Vamos a hablar.
Claro.
Just like that.
But it's your language skill, but it's also your attitude.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people are afraid. What are you afraid of? It's a language. In English, I make mistakes sometimes. I change my thought process. I lose my train of thought. It's the same thing. Everyone makes mistakes. There's no problem in making mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. But But it's difficult to live that.
It is hard, but the conversation around learning languages has to change. I admire you guys here. We're doing 3 languages. It's amazing. What's important is the knowledge, is what you're saying, not making mistakes. Who cares? If you live like that, you'd never do anything new. Tú jamás harías alguna cosa nueva. You know what I mean? Imagine, imagina se yo, oh my God, how do I say that? Se eu falasse para vocês, se eu hablara. Yo no voy a surfar. ¿Por qué? Tengo miedo, voy a cometer un error.
Claro.
Voy a caer.
Voy a caer. Te va a caer, siempre.
¿Qué pensarían? Misma cosa.
But I think that also happened that when you came to Australia, you can find so many Brazilians like you, so many Argentinian, Chileans. So you can find your small word in your own language, and it's comfortable, and times go flying, and you stay with your friends, and you cannot speak English, but you say, it doesn't matter, I can work as a cleaner, I don't have to speak a lot of English, but I have my Spanish friends. And it's like...
É cómodo. But now that's fun. That's fine. If you just want 6 months, a year in Australia, just have some fun. No problem. Sin problemas. But if you want to progress professionally, if you want to really open your horizons, expand your horizons, abrir os horizontes, you've got to make the effort. Like I have many Australian students who I'm teaching Portuguese. And I tell them 5 minutes, 2 minutes with native speakers is equivalent to 1 hour with me. You know, even me today, the amount of Spanish that I've learned just listening to you would be 2 hours.
So tú le enseñas al brasilero o portugués.
Puede ser
Yeah.
latino también.
O
puede
chileno.
ser-
Tú les enseñas a hablar English.
Sí,
Ese es tu business.
sí.
Y además, le enseñas al Aussie.
Habla portugués. Sí, me gusta
And
mucho.
soon you're gonna start teaching Spanish.
Y pronto.
Sí, vamos a ver.
Se viene.
Pero el problema es que las personas enxergan.
Sí, entiendan.
Sí. View.
Que
Vean.
vean. Ajá.
El aprendizaje
Sí.
de lengua es como si fuera, voy a hacer muchas clases y después voy a hablar con los nativos.
No, imposible,
De
amigo.
forma alguna.
Sí.
Ajá.
Tienes que hacer los dos. Yo soy apenas un guía para ustedes. Yo soy un
Ajá.
guía para mostrar el camino.
Sí.
Yo enseño cómo yo hablo tal cosa, cómo yo construyo una frase.
Sí.
Pero ustedes tienen que ir allá.
Mm.
El profe me enseñó eso, entonces voy a testar, voy a
Yeah.
intentar. Es eso. Entonces voy a hablar en español para los
Sí. En
telespectadores. Portuñol. Dice más portuñol, sí. Desgraciadamente. Yo, 2 minutos con nativos es equivalente a 1 hora de clase con un profe, porque cuando estás en una clase puedes quedarte tranquilo en el computador, puedes ir en el móvil, profe, no entendí, puedes repetir. No, con los nativos tienes que hablar, tienes que escuchar.
Sí.
Todos los sentidos están activos.
Sí.
Y eso es muy importante. Entonces estoy acá hoy, estoy aprendiendo mucho
Sí.
y al mismo tiempo yo estoy transmitiendo conocimiento para ustedes y
Sí.
yo amo.
Yes. Yes, I have to say that for me, el punto de inflexión
Ajá.
of the big difference was the moment that I decided to have friends only to speak in English with them.
Yes.
My group of friends is full of Brazilians, but we speak
Yeah,
in English
it's perfect.
and Portuguese and Spanish a bit. But I decided at some point, like, okay, no more Spanish speakers because I need to talk.
Yeah,
I
it's
need
important.
to really improve. And I think that's the key. And then when you start working in English, and then when we start doing the podcast in English, you go so much fast
Yeah,
in your learning process if you are like doing things in a new language.
Oh, I agree, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I tiro el chapéu. Tiro el chapéu.
¿Cuál es esa?
Tiro el chapéu.
Me saco el sombrero.
Espera, como yo digo.
Me saco el sombrero.
Me saco el sombrero.
Can you say that in English? Is it
I take my hat
Take
off.
my
to
hat
you.
off, yeah, claro.
Take my hat off to you.
Take my hat off to you. Está buena.
Yeah.
Existen los 3 idiomas.
Existe.
Buenísimo.
Same.
Yeah, yeah.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
¿Quién es ese? ¿Los franceses?
No, en Indonesia.
Yeah.
No, en Tailandia.
O en Tailandia.
Same, but different.
Yeah,
but
same,
different. Yeah, they have t-shirts everywhere. Same, but
Same,
different.
different,
I love it.
Entonces, sí, la parte neurológica,
Sí.
the neurological side
Yeah.
of things is tremendous. Like you did it.
Yes, I did a neuro-English course.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
With a Brazilian girl, actually.
Aline?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she's awesome.
She
Yeah,
was
yeah.
my
is.
teacher in language.
Oh, really? She's awesome.
She lives in
then-
Chile now, I've heard.
Yeah, she's traveling around. Now she's in Canada, I
Yeah.
think. so.
Fantastic.
We love her.
Yes. And for me, it was like game changing. Like, was really, really good. And I loved one class that she said to everyone, like, okay, do you still think that, I don't know, if you make a mistake, the other person is thinking all day that you make a mistake? Sorry, you are not that important.
Yeah, claro.
No, yeah, it's true.
No one
Sí.
No one
cares.
cares.
Sí.
No one
I
cares.
was like, that's true.
Sí,
Like,
sí.
si alguien se equivoca, tú no te quedas pensando
Sí.
en su error.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about the psychological part, the motivations to learn a new language, find funny things to do when you are learning a language, and was really, really cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love Aline. Yeah,
Yes.
she's cool.
And,
Yeah, she's
¿qué es el error más común que brasileros cometen falando inglés?
Cuando habla de existencia, como yo digo en español.
Estas cosas.
Existencia.
Existence. Existencia.
Existência. Eu não sei fazer el X em espanhol. Quando se trata de existência em português, você fala tem. Em espanhol, hay. Por exemplo, hay uma mesa.
Sí.
Ajá.
Em português, tem uma mesa.
Tem.
Então, al traduzir, é have a table. Pero no es así en inglés. Sería there is singular, there are plural. Entonces todos los brasileños hablan have a party. Tem uma festa. Hay una fiesta hoy. Y eu
No.
No. Yeah, no. There is.
Not on my watch, mate.
Y también, not on my watch. y también los brasileños creo que debe ser la misma cosa con latinos, con hispanohablantes. Ustedes hablan, voy a hacer una fiesta, voy a hacer un asado.
Okay.
Em português, vou fazer um churrasco, vou fazer uma festa. Então, em inglês, quando você...
Tá bem,
automaticamente, em inglês, quando você fala... I'm going to make a party.
Sí.
Parece que você vai fazer com as próprias mãos.
Sí.
As próprias mãos. E eu, como você vai? Concreto? Como vas a construir la fiesta?
Ya, pero ¿cuál es la diferencia entre make and do?
Ok, perfecto. So, make, do is more for executar tarefas. To do tasks. Make is like create.
It's
Like, so for example,
create a thing,
an
so
you make a coffee, you're creating it.
So we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, because it's more like doing a podcast.
And we're making a coffee.
Yes, exactly. But it's not, it's a bit abstract. As you can see, thinking,
Sí.
it's not black and white.
Yeah.
But the general thing is you use do for like executing a task,
Sí.
performing a task, whereas make is more creating.
Okay,
makes sense.
yeah, gotcha, yeah.
But it's a bit tricky because there are exceptions.
Yes.
Yeah, there are
Always.
lots of exceptions.
Everything in English got exceptions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and what is the biggest mistake in the Australians learning Portuguese?
Everything.
A lot. Well, there's a lot, but
It would be so different, hey.
there's a funny one. Can I make it? Okay, so because in Portuguese, pão is bread.
Yes.
Pão.
Pão.
But pau is dick.
Oh.
Penny. Yeah.
Sí.
I learned that one.
Pão.
And so every Australian, because we don't have this sound in English, this
Sí.
pão.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
in Spanish, so
no, we
yeah.
don't use it.
Pão.
So when because we say gringos,
Yeah.
Brazilians say gringos, they say, eu quero pão. Que significa eu quero pene.
Yeah.
Muy gracioso. So, es muy divertido.
This one is a tricky one because it's like a phonetic thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like that sound took
It's a
me
muscle.
6 months.
It's a muscle.
Yo demoré
Exactly.
6 meses para
Yeah.
hacer. Es un músculo.
Pão.
Pero la misma cosa, están aquí riendo.
Riendo.
Vocês estão aqui rindo porque é engraçado, é gracioso. É muito gracioso.
Sí.
E quando riem de uma coisa dessas, eu aprendo. Então, quando eu cometo um erro, estou falando espanhol, português, cometo um erro.
Español.
Make a mistake, hacer un error.
Sí.
Cometo una
Cometo,
Gracias.
claro.
No, pueden
Commit
gracioso.
a mistake.
E em português, cometer um erro. Em espanhol, hacer ou cometer.
Cometer.
Bom.
Quando eu cometo um erro em espanhol e quando vocês riem, assim eu aprendo, porque vou a recorrer
Ajá.
la risada.
Sí.
¿Cómo
la
es
risa.
recordar en
Lembrar.
Lembrar.
Vou lembrar a risada de vocês
Sí.
depois. Então, assim eu aprendo. E é engraçado, é gracioso.
Sí,
É muito
es
gracioso.
gracioso.
Então, assim eu aprendo.
Sí.
Então, eu incentivo meus estudantes a não se levarem a sério.
Claro,
Eu não sei se...
Sí, no
No
tomárselo
take
tan
yourself
en
too
serio.
seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
não se leva a sério.
Yeah.
And also it's a good thing to learn. Like if someone corrects you or someone laugh because
funny.
you make a mistake.
It's funny.
It's funny
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
a good way to learn. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want
But
to
you
make
know,
that
this is
mistake again.
what it gets me, but because you learning Portuguese, everyone in the community will love you because you're trying as we already established, and if you tratando de hablar español would be the same. But for us,
Yeah.
nobody gives a crap because
you have to.
because you should know English.
Yeah.
I'm like, no,
Ooh.
it is my second lenguaje.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But at the same time, think about it. If you came to me and you said, hey, I'm playing Australian football, I'm playing rugby, people would love you because you're in the culture. You're not just learning English.
Yeah.
Aprender español es una cosa. Imergirse en la cultura es otra.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's, I think, I mean, I agree with you somewhat. I agree somewhat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, if you're a fun person who says, I love your culture.
Yeah.
people- Not the same as Brazil or Chile, but there will be a degree of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I get that
and
a bit.
also it's different because
Yeah.
we are living here, so we need to learn a language to survive.
Yeah.
When an Australian is learning any other language and is living in Australia, it's like because they want to.
No, but
learn
I'm saying
something else.
if he when he was
yes.
living in Brazil,
Yes,
everyone would love him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But it's just because
there's a little bit of privilege.
exactly
Definitely,
yeah. But I get what you're saying, and that's a really good tip. That's
Yeah.
a really good consejo. I get that a bit. I've got a few Aussie mates, and just learning a few jokes, I think, or like learning concepts such as like banter. Like banter is so good if you know that and you use that with your mates. Like that's a way to sort of like get into the culture. And then learning a few como palabras que sean
But
por ejemplo, en vez de
keywords.
decir rugby, dice footy or stuff like that, como no
Trae
sé.
familiaridad.
Exacto.
Yeah, it brings familiarity. Yeah,
But a few times we talk about that psychological part of being afraid to be too Australian, or maybe in your case being too Brazilian, because I don't know, your friends back home, they're gonna think like you're trying to be Australian.
Sí, sí.
So we feel embarrassed with that, and it's a really
It's a
stupid
thing for us. Like,
yeah, we talk a lot about that.
If we Latinos, we hang out too much with Aussies, or we dressed up like
You're trying to be too Aussie.
yeah, like
Abraham has a really Aussie accent. It's a good thing.
Yeah, he's got you got to.
yeah, but then
Yeah.
people go like they give me shit because like like
You're
he
too
he reckons he's Aussie. I'm like,
hold up.
soy lo más latino que hay, mírame la cara.
But hold up, but we have to think. Amigo de verdad no hace eso.
No,
Sí.
yes,
Sí,
agree,
sí, sí.
agree.
Yeah. Like when I was learning Portuguese, I was 19, and a lot of my friends at the time, because I grew up in like a how do I say, it was a bubble.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, it was like an old school,
Yeah.
lawyer, whatever. And a lot of my friends at the time found it strange. Se extrañaron.
Yeah.
And they were like, no hablas más con la gente.
Claro.
Eres muy brasileño. But, how do I say? Inveja.
En verdad.
Inveja. Envy.
Envidia.
Envidia.
And sometimes, like, if people,
Sí.
I mean, we were like 19, we were kids,
Sí,
you know what I
sí.
mean? But at the same time, a lot of people, small-minded,
Yeah.
mente pequeña,
Sí.
like mente fechada,
Ajá.
cerrada, and it's okay.
sí, pero what about the like tall poppy syndrome?
I think that's definitely a
¿Tú
thing.
qué te sientes afectado por eso?
Yo creo que hay un poquito, sí.
Sí.
Yo creo que hay bastante en Australia, pero al mismo tiempo yo en Brasil yo he visto muchas cosas así, pero yo sé que es una cosa muy prominente en Australia,
Ajá.
pero al mismo tiempo...
Y nosotros tenemos lo mismo, que es chaquetear. Tall
Yeah.
poppy syndrome es
Yes.
chaquetear. Es como,
Entonces-
alguien se subió mucho, como, no sé, si no eres para tanto.
Ajá.
Yo que-
Yeah,
en
and-
Brasil
and-
hay también un
And
poquito.
it's a weird thing, because I said to you once, like, I try so hard to learn English, and now that I speaking a lot of English because I'm working in English and everything, I feel scared that I'm gonna miss the Spanish, or I feel embarrassed to say a word in English because I don't remember the word in Spanish.
Yeah,
And
and
you
if-
said to me like, Flo, you wanted that.
Yeah.
Like, you try so hard to do that. Like,
You got it, you're doing well. Who
yeah,
cares?
enjoy it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you don't remember the word in Spanish.
Who cares?
But yeah, who cares? But we care about that, and
si
we
lo-
have that things all the time when we are learning languages.
Y si los que critican, váyanse a la mierda también, que sí.
No, la
Oye,
vida es
¿cómo
única.
es?
La vida es muy corta.
Es muy corta,
Sí.
yeah.
Yo aprendí soy así.
Sí.
Yes.
Si no te gusta, tranquilo.
But how
Sí.
do you manage that in the people who you are teaching a language? How do you try to explain them to leave these psychological things
I say,
out?
lenguas traen riquezas,
Sí.
conocimiento,
Sí.
dimensiones diferentes de pensar. Es, how do I say, es una de las cosas más maravillosas que existe.
Sí.
Yeah? Es otra lengua.
Ajá.
So I just say embrace, abraza.
Ajá.
You know, none of this, all this cycle. A lot of Brazilians, muchos brasileños tienen lo mismo problema.
Yeah.
They always say, oh, you know, tengo
Sí.
trauma, da, da, da.
Sí.
I think, but why?
Sí.
Like, for example, varias veces en este podcast,
Ajá.
yo paré porque yo no sabía la palabra en español.
Uh-huh.
Sí.
Y
Ah,
que,
yeah, yeah.
no, pero ¿qué, how do I say what happened in Spanish? ¿Qué pasó?
Ajá.
No.
Nada, no, claro, no.
Mm.
Estoy aquí, estoy vivo.
Sí, sí.
¿Están riendo de mí?
Sí,
¿Están
sí, sí.
riendo? ¿Es gracioso? para-
Contigo.
No, conmigo.
Ajá.
Sí. No, pero es gracioso.
Sí.
Yeah.
Es gracioso.
Sí, sí, sí.
Para mí también.
Engraçado.
Y la entrevista está fluyendo.
Sí.
No hay problema.
Sí, 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 no hay problema, no hay dramas, no
Yeah.
worries.
No worries. Yeah.
Sí,
Y
sí.
estoy riendo de mí porque
Sí.
es gracioso.
Sí, sí,
Un
sí.
gringo, muy gringo.
Otra cosa que yo al llegar acá, mis primeros amigos acá fueron brasileros.
Yeah.
Es muy linda esa conexión de uno llegar a Australia y como acá hay muchos brasileros. nos hacemos amigos de...
I always say that they are the best because you have the Latin connection
Yeah,
and
yes.
things in common, but you have to speak in English.
Sí.
So it's good.
Pero to an extent, you can still
Yeah,
hablar un poquito
but
de
if you don't know a
portuñol,
word, you
pero-
can say it in Spanish, and it's really always similar to Portuguese. So it's easy. But it's a good way to practice English, but to have the Latin
Yeah, you gotta
thing
save-
and
yeah,
the vibe.
yeah.
I feel like there is that calor humano.
Sí, 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 sí.
Ajá.
And but it is very funny.
How do you say that in Portuguese?
Like calor humano.
Calor humano.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Is
that's
the
what-
same?
Lo mismo.
Estoy traduciendo, yeah, literalmente. But like, it's very funny because it's funny. Like, for example, if you're because I don't know, I don't think you guys say gringo.
Yeah, sí, sí,
Yeah.
sí.
Yeah,
sí.
we say gringo. In
Sí.
Portuguese, it's like
Sí,
boa,
gringo, sí.
tranquilo.
Yeah.
Sí,
Yeah,
sí.
because sometimes when I make bank transfers, when I
Yeah.
do bank transfers and I put Hugo Gringo, the bank says ofensivo.
Really?
No way.
Yeah, but that happens. They said, "Oh, este lenguaje no es I was like,
apropiado.
I was like, por favor.
Sí, pero
Mi popi.
tú no te sientes ofendido con la palabra gringo.
No, me
It's
gusta.
dearing.
Yo soy el más gringo, mira.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a
Yo
dearing
soy un
way.
gringo total.
Sí.
Yeah. Mi camisa también.
Muy gringo.
pero, what was I talking about? We were talking about something before.
Yes.
I think we were talking about caipirinhas. I'm pretty sure.
I do love a good caipirinha, but I do love no. But what I forgot what I was
Cerveja
saying.
gelada.
Cerveja
Cerveja
gelada.
gelada.
Muito boa.
O picanha
Picanha.
com farofa.
No.
Delícia. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Because like, it's even though you guys have that Latin connection,
Sí.
Yeah.
like it's quite funny. It's like Brazil is like its own world. It's like
Sí.
uma
Sí, 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 sí.
ostra. And then
Sí.
and then like for example, if I put Brazilian music at a Colombian party, everyone just like
Sí, sí, sí.
it's quite funny the cultures,
such
even
a
though
we-
same continent.
Sí,
Because
man.
So-
they speak a different language, so that makes us.
A lot of people you would think like, perdona mi ignorancia,
Sí.
if you don't know any, like you would think, oh, South American, the calor.
Sí,
Yeah.
sí,
You know,
sí.
but- and then you go there. Sometimes I go to my Colombians. Mis vizinhos son colombianos,
Sí.
and I coloco Gustavo Lima, who's like Romeo
Sí, sí,
Santos
sí.
do Brasil,
Sí, sí.
and they're just sort of like, oh, chévere. and then they put on merengue, and I'm like,
Sí.
oh,
Ah, chévere.
gracias. You know, but when they put on Romeo, es otra
Romeo.
historia.
El Romeo te gusta.
loves
de-
it.
Romeo
Romeo es
Santos.
ídolo. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true that everyone thinks that every country in South America is really like.
And
I
they
don't
get,
know,
sí.
salsa,
Sí, sí, sí.
and we are all good dancers, but
Sí.
No.
we are
Solo unos
not.
pocos. Solo unos
Only
pocos.
you.
Because what I get, the impression, I could be wrong because
Yeah.
I haven't been to Chile, but I remember I went to Argentina
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it, but people were a bit more European and they
Yeah,
were proud
no,
of being
yes.
más European. And I was sort
Sí,
of like,
they're
Yeah.
very
yo
proud.
yo no vine a la América do Sul para
Sí.
estar como australiano más
Sí, sí.
tranquilo,
Yes.
na mía. And then I went
Sí.
to, and then the Chileans as well said, you guys are like half.
Ah,
Yeah.
sí,
Am
Am
sí,
I wrong?
sí.
Puede
Yes.
estar.
No, no, es
No.
correcto, es
No,
correcto.
whereas and I went to Spain. Yo fui a España and they
Ajá.
said, estás en el lugar errado. Lugar errado. Eres muy latino para España.
Sí, claro.
Because, oh, vamos a bailar.
No,
y yo,
no.
oh, aquí es España. Yo,
No, tenés
estoy
que
en
ir a
lugar-
Cuba.
Lugar errado.
Yeah.
Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, ahí.
And like, I think I've got the sangre latino.
Yeah, tú lo tienes, sí que sí.
Sí.
Sí que
And I
sí.
love it. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
Y
You
los
don't have
brasileños.
Latin family.
No, I am
Nothing.
100% gringo. 100%.
100%
Yeah.
gringo. Wow.
Yeah.
Have you done one of those DNA tests?
Yeah. So completely British, Swedish. My grandmother was an immigrant from Latvia,
Uh-huh.
Letonia.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I think maybe that's why, because I had an immigrant grandmother,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit different. But
Wow.
I'm, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Aussie. So,
Yeah.
you know, like traditionally, you know,
Yeah.
Anglo-Australian. So I'm not like, I don't really have a...
You start with the Latin vibe in your family.
Yeah, well,
For sure.
my parents are very welcoming. My brother likes
Sí.
languages as well.
That's cool.
My family's very warm and friendly, and I
Cool.
think that's why we get... Oh, yeah.
Oh.
How do you say boboleta?
Bobaleta.
Is that right? Boboleta?
Polilla.
Polilla. Oh,
Mariposa.
Polilla. No, it's a
Mariposa.
no, it's not a
Butterfly.
Yeah, mariposa. Yeah,
It's not a butterfly.
No, it's not. It's a moth. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a polilla.
Está volando.
There
Okay.
you go.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking today, do you think that your ability to learn languages is like a talent that you're born with, or is something that you can train?
I think it's something you can train. What I think happens is, especially, I don't know, because I think South Americans are similar. And you grow up and you think, oh, Latinos no hablan inglés.
Mm-hmm.
Yo no voy a hablar inglés.
Yeah.
And gringos, Australians think, you have to be so smart to learn languages. And I was like, hold up. If I can do it, You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not, I'm not bad, but
Yeah.
you know, if I can do these languages like this, if I can learn them, so can you.
Yeah.
I just know how to do it. That's the only difference. You guys, not you guys, but a lot of people, a lot of my students, they say, oh, tenho trauma, não consigo, não vou treinar aqui, vou praticar. Whereas I'm already practicing. Like just here at this table, I have made so many Spanish mistakes. But in how long has it been? 20 minutes. I've learned so much in 20 minutes. Whereas so many of my students, não me siento confortável, vou praticar primeiro.
Yeah,
the mentality.
It happened to me. At one point, I said like, okay, I quit. I quit English. It's not for me. I'm not gonna learn more than that. Like I already can see a movie. I can watch a series in English. I'm okay. I'm done. I'm never gonna be able to speak. I'm never gonna be able to like do anything else. But yeah, it was totally like a mental thing that
flicking the switch.
Yes, for sure. But I also think or have the feeling that there's people with more talent.
Yeah,
to learn
I feel like
languages.
you are gifted.
Yeah, but I think
pero
like any skill.
But there's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Pero
it's not for free,
entrenamiento.
for sure.
Sí, no, claro.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, I think I have una cierta facilidad, but at the same time, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you taught me how to make a website, I would be lost. But if you showed me, eventually I would get better and better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I say.
And so you say you know how to do it. What is it in your program that you teach that is if you can tell us a little bit so you can get more people maybe signing up? What sort of your content? What do you go through? Is it units or is it
so it's a lot of units, and I often just teach, hey, what do you need to get around? First of all, like, what do you need? And then I teach, what are the structures when you speak? So, like, because I'm a teacher, the way I think, even when I'm speaking to you in Spanish, I'm like, all right, tiempo verbal presente, pasado, yo voy a usar el futuro ahora. I do that without thinking. I just verb table. Yo hago, tú haces, instantly. A lot of the verb tables in Spanish I've never seen, but so I just guess. I use Portuguese. That's how I do it. So I just teach people to like read languages. When you talk to someone, why are you using the future tense? ¿Por qué? Eu vou hacer. Es tan importante. So for example, I teach people in the units a lot of common words, how to put them together. And people forget everyday words. How do you say por qué? Because. How do you say, so, entonces? Just things like that. I even argue that even if I spoke very little Spanish here, just using entonces, después, just things like that, we can have a conversation.
Sí, no, perfecto.
You just need palabras llaves.
Claves.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sí.
That's it. So I sort of teach people how to link things and mental, gatillos.
Gatillos. Sí.
Like
triggers.
Just it's a language. No es un perro.
Sí,
no vas a morderte.
Sí.
No vas a morder.
No te va a morder.
So for now, you with your like own school, you are focused on Brazilians, and you start teaching them in Portuguese, and then you start going more deep in English. How is the process for them?
Yeah, so I think one of the worst things people do, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people, when I was started teaching, they said, oh, no, you can't use the native language, the person's native language. But imagine if I start teaching English and you don't speak English in English. You're going to be... Imagine you teaching, Chilean Spanish and I no hablo español. No voy a entender nada.
Sí.
So you have to, it's like, like a baby or something. You have to start them off and then you lose.
Okay, and then you're going to have a connection point.
Yeah, like for example, now I'm teaching Thursday, Friday night and the majority, la mayoría, Latinos, no habla nada. ¿Cómo voy a explicar un concepto? Un concepto gramatical, el futuro, en inglés, siendo que la persona no habla inglés.
Exacto.
Y las personas, profe, por favor, explícame en español. Y yo uso portuñol. Y la persona, en 10 segundos, y el resto del tiempo, yo no estoy entendiendo. No puedes hablar español conmigo. No puedes hablar portugués, profe.
¿Y esta clase es jueves-viernes? ¿En qué setup? ¿Es en un bar?
No, es una escuela.
¿Una escuela?
Una escuela. La mitad. La mitad del tiempo yo trabajo en una escuela. Yo soy un hombre muy extrovertido. Entonces, cuando no tengo... interacción con personas,
Sí.
yo quedo muy triste.
Sí, ok.
Yo no puedo. Yo no sé cómo sobrevivir la pandemia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pero entonces yo voy y también me gusta aprender con personas nuevas,
Sí.
porque siempre hay personas diferentes,
Sí.
formas diferentes de aprender. Y el resto de tiempo yo trabajo por cuenta propia,
Sí.
Yes.
y dando aula, enseñando en Zoom o
Sí, ok, sí.
presencialmente.
Sí, ok,
presencialmente. Y tengo mi curso. I have my course as well, which is the grand plan, because no hay tiempo suficiente en el día para
But-
enseñar a todo el mundo.
Yeah.
I saw that you don't have more spot left.
Yeah, I had maybe one or two a week, but the
Yeah.
rest of the time fully
Fully
booked.
booked.
Yeah. Wow.
So like, but you know, and I love it, but that's why at the moment, if I just teach one-on-one,
Yeah.
I can't get everyone. Whereas online course, I can have so many people learning,
Yeah,
and I can
that's-
give them my time
Yeah.
because I'll be there with them, and that's I want.
But I
you
think
know,
that's great that you also saw a necessity in the Brazilian community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's true. When you came to Australia and you started studying an English course, it's in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you don't
usually,
understand anything.
usually not by Aussies, usually by
Yeah.
English from
Different
British or
countries.
Canada
Yeah.
or
so it's
Indian
different.
And so
or
they
everyone with an accent
yes
already.
with not the accent that you're trying
Yeah.
to emulate or
Yeah.
fit in to.
Exactly.
So I think that it's really good that you found that problem and you're trying to solve it, like teaching the language in their own language.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And it's really good and probably they are learning faster and
Well, yeah, certainly at the start, you have to have a lot of Portuguese, or
Yeah.
in your case, Spanish. But then you, like, all this, when you wean them off, like, you gradually, like, you take them away. Like, how do I say it? It's a bit crude, the expression, but, like, se tira da teta.
Oh, se destetan.
Slowly.
Se destetan.
And then
Yeah.
you give them milk in just English.
Sí, claro,
Yeah.
sí.
Yeah, and that way, the person learns.
and
Sí, wow.
how long it takes that? Obviously, it depends of each case, but in general.
So, honestly, okay, so it really depends, but
Yeah.
in a couple of months, you can be getting around
Yeah.
decently.
That's good.
You can be getting around decently. I would say, for me, it took me a year. I never had a lesson
Yeah.
in Portuguese. I just learned speaking,
Yeah.
practicing.
Sí.
It took me a year, and one day, when people were speaking normally, not rápido,
Sí.
no one's speaking quickly, it's normal
Sí,
pace,
sí, sí.
I was like, oh, eu entendo.
Sí, sí.
Yeah,
that's
it
good.
took me a year. But I never had any lessons. But now I know that it's like sort of chipping at a wall, building a house.
Sí, sí,
The
sí.
more you put into it, the faster it grows, like
Sí.
a plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're just like occasionally, you know, like for example with my Spanish, I practice at school, but I'm not serious about it at the moment because
Sí.
my priority. But
Yeah.
every day I get a little bit of practice.
Sí.
But if I did an hour lesson every day in Spanish, if all my music was Romeo Santos or Maluma Baby, my Spanish would boom.
Yeah.
But at the moment I'm just casual.
Sí, claro.
And a lot of
sí.
people learning English, oh, estoy aprendiendo inglés. And I was like,
Claro.
you know what I mean? So it
Sí.
depends how, like, you've
Exacto.
got to get direct listening.
Yes.
I love that there's
Yeah.
a few small things that you can
Dude,
start
mate,
doing.
yeah.
Putting your
Change-
phone in English.
Yeah, exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
Watch a series in English with
With
an
us,
English
yeah.
subtitle.
Sí.
Start listening music and podcast in English.
Sí.
Like these small things already help you.
And I think the best tip I can give is, like, people think you have to sofrer un poquito. So, like, for example, I can sit here now and you guys speak Spanish. Can I just sort of relax? I will learn. I will get the sounds, the sonoridad de la lengua.
Yeah.
Sí.
But my listening's not gonna. But if you speak fast, not fast, just normal pace Chilean Spanish,
Sí.
and I just sit here going, oh, no entiendo, my listening will get a lot better because I'm activamente escuchando.
Sí.
Whereas if you're just passive,
Yeah.
Pasivo.
Yeah.
Pasivamente.
you're slower. But if you're actively going, habla conmigo, yo no entiendo, repita,
Sí.
es difícil,
Yeah.
Sí.
pero más rápido.
Sí.
Yeah, it's
Tienes
because
que
you
sufrir.
are training.
Yeah, you have to suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, that's how I do it. So when I go, a lot of people, no entendo, vou sair fora, vou para casa. Whereas when you guys are speaking Spanish, I'm just listening, going, all right, entendí esta
Sí.
parte, no. Yeah, I
Sí.
love that.
Did you get?
Yeah.
Because I get this. I feel very comfortable with my English and my Spanish, but lately and more often I get, I just want to have a day off. I just want to hablar español. No quiero babysit anyone trying to, oh, this means this. But pasa 2 veces al año, 3 veces al año que como que quiero apagar el cerebro en inglés y solo hablar español. ¿Te pasa eso?
Sinceramente no mucho.
Ajá.
Pero ¿qué pasa? Es que cuando enseño tengo que hacer en las dos lenguas.
Sí,
Y
claro.
el problema es que es gracioso, pero pasa. Todo mi esfuerzo va en portugués, porque es mi
Sí.
segunda lengua.
Claro.
Entonces, el inglés yo dejo un poquito. Y después yo tengo que corregir en inglés.
Sí.
Ajá.
Y pienso, la línea de raciocinio está correcta. Las dos lenguas son bonitas.
Sí.
Las
Ajá.
capciones.
Sí.
Entonces, es mucho trabajo.
Sí.
Entonces, a mí prometí, Dios mío, tengo que hacer en las dos lenguas.
Sí.
Pero yo sé que es necesario y
Yeah.
es...
But sometimes
Yeah.
it's easier just to stick with one. Okay.
No, es
If
mucho
it's gonna
más
be
fácil.
English, okay, just English. But
Sí.
mix the two of us.
No,
Yeah.
I don't
Exactly.
mind. I really don't mind mixing.
No, but
I
sometimes
like it.
when
Me
I'm
gusta.
the whole day in the office speaking in English, and then I arrive home and I start talking Spanish with Seba, it's really hard to come back to Spanish.
Sí.
So it's like, okay, sorry, but I'm gonna use a few English words because I cannot think anymore,
Sí.
and I already have like the English
But then
switch
also
on.
you have to set up your relationships with a language. For example, you said that você en sua namorada
Noiva.
No.
noiva
No.
fala em português.
Sim, só por...
Sí, fala em português. Pero igual falan en English ou não?
Ela fala inglês também?
Sí.
Oh, no,
But in your relationship, do you speak in English sometimes? Or?
A gente deveria, mas não muito.
Okay, okay.
Porque... Yeah,
See what I mean? Like
Estranho.
you already set up a language in that relationship.
that's why
Yeah.
it's like
So
a
you
Tinder date
create-
gone wrong. If you don't, it's... When we tried, I was like, how was your day? It was good.
Yeah, and
It's-
then
it's awkward.
and then you
Yeah.
feel awkward. See what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
when we doing when speaking English, and like let's say if you speak completely Espanol, and we will try to do that podcast in English, will be awkward, will be weird.
Yeah.
Like why
because
are we doing
it
that?
won't feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it happens when you are with a friend from another country,
Yeah.
and it's like the three of us. Like now,
Sí.
we are speaking sometimes in English.
Sí, sí, sí.
But for me now, it's even more common.
Yeah, it's more common, but
to
at the
speak
beginning,
in English with you. At the beginning, it's
it's
really
awkward.
weird.
Yeah, it's really
But now
awkward,
with you
Yeah,
or
yeah,
with
I can
Seba,
see you guys are comfortable.
Yeah.
But with Seba or with a few friends, for me now it's normal to speak in English
Right.
too.
Yeah,
That's
it
a good
takes-
point. You make it comfortable, but I will say what you said before was interesting. I thought about what you just said. At school, so when I'm at school, I'm always in teacher mode.
Right.
Yeah.
So even in like I3 advanced class, I'm still speaking slightly slower.
Wow.
Sí.
Whereas when I'm with my Australian friends or whatever, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah,
just,
yeah.
and more slang, much
Yeah,
more slang.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've got my
Yeah.
best friend there, teacher Sam.
Yeah.
And when we talk together, it's just
Yeah.
crap. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
slang.
yeah.
It's just crap. The whole
Good.
we just talk crap.
Right.
But the problem with and it's
It's so easy.
yeah, and I just
Exactly.
relax.
Yes.
Whereas at school, whenever a student comes, I know even if they're advanced, I can't go full
Right.
pace
Yeah.
because
Okay.
you know, oh, how's it going? You know, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. They're
yeah,
just unless they've been here a long time,
Right.
They're just so even at school, even if they're good, I'm still just slightly
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
tiring. So when I'm
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Sam
Yeah.
and when we're on lunch, I just disappear and I just relax and I just talk smack.
Especially
Yeah.
you,
'Cause it must
especially
be
you
the
getting
same
on the
with you
beats.
guys, like-
Yeah.
When I don't know if Chilean Spanish is that different.
Oh, sí, sí.
But
Yeah.
like when you speak with us, eventually you're like, solo
Yeah,
quiero
well,
hablar, you know what I mean?
When we
It's
are
a normal
with,
thing.
even with Argentinian friends or
Yeah.
Peruvian friends, you try to speak like as more like neutral
Neutral, yeah.
Spanish. But when you are with a Chilean, it's like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
you know,
that's
it's
so
not
much
and it's comfortable.
easier.
And if you did this, like for me, I do that like 7 hours.
You know,
non-stop.
mine.
Sí, sí.
And sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, and that's normal. That's when I get tired.
Bueno, es
Ah,
bueno
yeah.
saber que we all go through the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
And estamos llegando al final de nuestro show. It
so
went really
fast.
quick.
We
I'm
love you,
sorry.
yeah.
Pero
Yeah.
we have show must finish. Pero una tradición es que nosotros hacemos un open mic.
Mm.
So now you're gonna have a few minutes to say whatever you want to say direct to our listeners, los Cachai australianos,
Yeah,
or anyone there listening.
You can,
give us,
you can give your name,
Yeah, your social
Instagram
medias.
name, because you have a really cool platform.
Oh,
We
thank you.
love it. So,
so-
yeah, and you can say hi, hola, or
in whatever language.
whatever language to whatever you want.
E aí,
beleza?
E aí, beleza?
Yeah. So I guess why don't we do the rounds? Cachai. Hola, mi gente. Yeah, it's too much bachata, too much reggaeton. Hola,
Hola, papi, mami.
Hola, papi. Hola, mami. Un placer conocerlos. Si quieren, that's Portuguese. Si quieren aprender inglés de verdad, aprendan conmigo. Síganme en las redes sociales, Instagram. Pues quiero realmente, es que no funciona tan bien en español, pero quiero que hables inglés también cuando yo hablo portugués. Entonces quiero que sea eso. For those of you learning, it is possible to speak really good English. Don't worry about the traumas. Don't worry about what people think. No one cares. And just enjoy. Language learning, it's not a book. It's fun. It's interaction. It's cracking jokes. Half the time it's talking smack. It's just, and just relax. And prosseguimores escutando. Vocês já sabem que eu sempre falo, é possível falar inglês tão bem quanto eu falo português. E relaxem, é um processo que demora tempo. Pronúncia, listening, tudo um músculo. Então é isso, fiquem tranquilos.
Fico tranquilo, caralho!
Portuguese!
It's more musical. It's more musical, yeah.
Oh my
Sí, es muy...
God.
Por ejemplo, uno dice banana, es como el músico, o sea, tipo el sonido. Yo pienso en los lenguajes en sonidos.
Ajá.
Estimo que el español es un poco más cuadrado el sonido, es como más... Entonces, banana. Banana en portugués, banana. Es como que
Es más
Tiene
musical,
más
es más
tiene
curva.
como una curva.
Es más, me
Más
gusta mucho.
flow.
Más flow.
Portugués de Brasil es muy bonito.
We
Sí,
love Brazil too.
Sí.
And we love this conversation with you.
My pleasure.
Thank
Obrigado.
you so
Florencia
much.
Abe,
Obrigada.
how do I say? El honor fue mío. Fue mío.
Yes,
Fue
mío.
tuyo, sí.
Yeah, me gusta hablar con un poco de... ¿sabes?
Pues se sabe.
Un hombre de respeto.
Thank you.
Gracias, Flo.
Thank you very
Gracias a
much.
todos los que nos escuchan. Compartan este capítulo. Ojalá los inspire. Contacten a Hugo. Escríbanos a nosotros también. Y eso. Gracias.
Compartirle este episodio con un amigo, con una amiga.
Na Instagram y Facebook.
Con Instagram y con Facebook.
Instagram.
LinkedIn. Así que vamos arriba. Muchas gracias a todos. Nos vemos la
Thank
próxima. Gracias,
you.
Hugo. Chao, chao.
Gracias por
Bye.
la invitación.
La.
La.
Oh, just-
Muy bien.